What was the weekly territory like that? Because I never knew that. I knew they ran Houston on Friday nights, but you had a lot of guys coming and going from Bill Watts, also guys coming and going from what, as you said, Funks and Amarillo. So what was the travel schedule on a weekly basis for guys in that territory?
Well, in the early 70s, when Paul initially bought the business up until about 1981, 82-ish, he used the Dallas booking office. So the Dallas booking office, they usually ran Dallas on a Sunday night. They'd run Fort Worth on Monday, and then they'd do the loop. They'd go like San Antonio. They'd hit Austin. They'd hit Corpus, and then Friday night was Houston, and Houston would make their week.
Right.
And then those guys would go back and usually do Dallas TV on a Saturday, and then they do a spot show on Saturday night somewhere. So it was a lot of driving, and it was a lot of miles. But Houston, for the most part, Paul booked his town differently. He didn't use Dallas TV. He did his own TV.
Right.
So Paul shot his own angles on his TV that were sometimes different than what they were running in Dallas.
So then who was booking for Paul? Was Paul booking himself?
Paul booked it with whoever the booker was in Dallas. So like if it was Gary Hart,
yeah.
Gary Hart would come in with Bronco Lubich, who was also in the office in Dallas. They would come in on Friday afternoon. They'd get in and they'd meet with Paul. They'd lay out that night's show. Paul would have his TV laid out. They'd come up with the finishes and everything. And
how well did you know Bronco Lubich?
I mean, I knew Bronco fairly well.
Man, that guy was so good to me in Dallas, Texas. Him and Skandor Akbar. I was just breaking in, and they'd let me get in the back of their car, and, of course, we'd talk wrestling and psychology the entire way on trips from Dallas down to Louisiana, little shithole towns where I'd be wrestling, making $15 or $20. That guy was like gold to me, and, of course, he had his career. But so what kind of cat was Bronco back in the day? Because he was an older guy when I met him, but just the nicest guy in the world and full of information and knowledge that he was willing to share with me.
Bronco was a gentleman.
Yeah.
The best way to describe Bronco. He was a true gentleman. Everything that Bronco was, Gary Hart was exactly the opposite. And they traveled together, which always used to blow my mind. Because Bronco would sit there and smoke his cigar, and Gary would sit there and smoke whatever Gary smoked. And they were as different as night and day. But Bronco was a true gentleman, man. And God, I could only imagine sitting in the back seat with Bronco Lubich and Skandor Akbar.
Here's a story for you. One time we was wrestling at the Jacksboro, Texas National Guard. And you know how a lot of the boys will go in and work, and their girlfriends would just stay in the car in the parking lot. A lot of times that's just the way it would happen. So one time, I think it was during intermission, Jacksboro at the National Guard, and Bronco goes out in the parking lot and takes a leak. Well, he's pissing right in front of one of the guys' girlfriend. And so I went up to Bronco and I said, Bronco, you're pissing out there right in front of Jimmy Joe's girlfriend. Bronco, he's always a thinking guy. So he thought for a second, he goes, it's okay. I didn't pull it all the way out. That made it okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, he didn't pull it all the way out. Way to go, Bronco. I agree. He must have been a gentleman indeed.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.